The giant silver ship of the Zolaxians slid into Earth's orbit like a shark into new waters. The aliens on board felt very sure of themselves. They had done this many times before with other planets. They had brought 40 other star systems under their control and made 12 different alien races join what they called their Galactic Concord. They had a set way of doing things that always worked. Commander Vexurian stood tall on the bridge of his ship. His blue skin gleamed under the lights. With 4 arms crossed over his chest and 3 eyes blinking slowly, he looked out at the blue-green planet below. He had led first meetings with aliens 17 times before. Earth would be simple, just another world to add to their growing empire. "Scanning finished, Commander," said Sub-Lieutenant Kree, his fingers moving over the control panel. "The humans are at level 3 development. They have basic space travel, simple energy systems, and no faster-than-light travel." Vexurian's mouth parts formed what passed for a smile among his kind. This was exactly what he wanted to hear. Security 4. 3 worlds always followed the same pattern when they met advanced aliens. First came fear, then wonder, and finally thankfulness for the help the Zolaxians would offer. "They will be impressed by our ships," he said, walking to the main window. "They will be grateful for our knowledge. What the humans would not know is that all this help came with a price, becoming a lesser part of the conquered, giving up resources, and losing true freedom. Send our message to them," Vexurian ordered. "Use all radio bands. Give them our standard greeting." The message went out across Earth's airwaves, a carefully made video showing the Zolaxians as peaceful visitors from the stars, offering friendship and advanced technology to welcome humanity into the wider universe. 5 hours later, Earth answered. "Sir," Kree called out, his voice sounding confused. "The humans want to meet us face to face." "Of course they do," Vexurian said with a wave of his upper right hand. "They want to show respect to their new teachers." "But Commander, there's more," Kree continued. "They want us to meet them at a spot beyond their moon, and they say they are sending ships to meet us." Vexurian made a sound like snorting. "No doubt small weak craft that can barely leave their world. Move our ship to the meeting place. We will follow the usual steps for welcoming them." The Zolaxian ship, massive and smooth, nearly as big as a small mountain, moved to the spot the humans had chosen. Vexurian ordered the screens to zoom in so they could see the approaching Earth ships. He expected to see simple rockets or small pods struggling through space. What came from behind Earth's moon made every Zolaxian on the bridge freeze in shock. "Great stars above," whispered Lieutenant Commander Pex, her voice barely audible. "What are we looking at?" 6 huge warships moved into a perfect V-shape in space. Each one stretched on for nearly 2 kilometers, with dark metal hulls that had sharp edges and angles. The ships bristled with what could only be weapons. Dozens of gunports, missile bays, and energy cannons lined their sides. They moved smoothly and with clear purpose, their engines glowing with power that the Zolaxian sensors couldn't even properly read. The Zolaxians had expected small, weak human craft. Instead, they faced a fleet of warships that looked like they had been built for one purpose: war among the stars. The main screen lit up, and a human face appeared. A woman with short gray hair and a stern face looked out at them from what was clearly a military command center. "This is Admiral Samantha, Right of the United Earth Defense Fleet," she said in a steady, confident voice. "Welcome to our solar system. We look forward to talking about our potential place in your Concord." Vexurian could hear the slight pause before she said, "Concord," as if she knew exactly what it meant, and didn't like it. "Commander." Kree's voice shook as he read the sensor data. "These ships have nuclear fusion power plants. They have gravity-controlling shields. They have energy weapons that could cut through our hull. This is impossible. A level 3 civilization cannot have these things." Around the bridge, other Zolaxians worked frantically at their stations, trying to make sense of what they were seeing. The data didn't match anything in their records. No planet at Earth's development stage had ever shown such military power. "Shall I ready our weapons, Commander?" asked the tactical officer, his hands hovering over the controls. "No." Vexurian said sharply. Then more calmly, "No, we are a diplomatic vessel." What he didn't say was that their ship, while large and impressive, was not built for serious battle. The real fighting ships of their fleet waited far away at the edge of the solar system, ready to come if needed. That was the normal plan. Impress the primitives with one big ship, and only bring in the war fleet if they somehow resisted. But these humans already had warships waiting. Ships that, by all readings, could give even the Zolaxian military vessels a real fight. Vexurian stared at the screen, at the human fleet floating against the black of space, at the calm face of Admiral Wright. For the first time in all his years of bringing new worlds into the Concord, he felt something he had never expected to feel. Fear. The humans hadn't followed the script. The diplomatic dance he had performed so many times before was suddenly useless. These humans hadn't been awed by the Zolaxians' arrival. Instead, the Zolaxians found themselves staring in shock at humanity's battleships. Admiral Samantha Wright sat tall in her command chair on the UES Nevada, the main ship of Earth's space fleet. At 52 years old, her gray hair was cut short in a no-nonsense style that matched her serious face. She had spent 30 years in the Navy before moving to the new Space Force when all the world's countries joined their defense programs. Now she led humanity's first line of defense against whatever might come from space. "They're scanning us again," said Lieutenant Gary Phillips from his station. "More deeply this time." "Let them look," Wright said with a small smile. "That's why we brought our biggest ships." Captain Frank Nelson, her second in command, leaned closer and spoke quietly. "Admiral, do we really need to show off our power? Like this?" Their message seemed friendly. Wright's face stayed calm. "When you meet new people, Captain, you don't show up in your old clothes. You wear your best outfit." She pointed to the big screen showing the alien ship. "We're just dressed right for the meeting." What very few people on Earth knew was that humans had received their first alien signal almost 70 years earlier. A damaged scout ship from aliens called the Talarians had crashed in the Pacific Ocean. The ship's emergency call had sent out information about the wider galaxy before their rescue ships came, including warnings about the Zolaxian Concord and how they really welcomed new planets into their group. For decades, countries around the world had secretly shared money and resources. They studied what they could from the crashed Talarian ship and built a defense fleet in secret bases under the moon's surface. The space programs that everyone knew about were just a cover while the real work happened in secret. "Admiral," called Communications Officer Diane Rodriguez. "The aliens want a face-to-face meeting on their ship." Wright nodded. "Counter-offer. We meet on neutral ground, our diplomatic platform. Same number of people from each side, standard safety measures." As Rodriguez sent the message, Wright shared a knowing look with Nelson. The Zolaxians had clearly expected to find a planet full of wide-eyed, simple humans, eager for handouts from space. Instead, they found a species that had been getting ready for this moment for generations. "They've agreed," Rodriguez said after a minute. 5 of them, without weapons." "Good." Wright stood up and straightened her dark blue uniform. "Tell Ambassador Daniel Carter and his team to get ready. Captain Nelson, you're in charge while I'm gone." 3 hours later, Wright stood in the meeting area of Diplomatic Platform Alpha, a special ship placed between the human and Zolaxian fleets. Ambassador Carter, an experienced diplomat with silver hair and a calm manner, stood next to her. With them were Security Chief Paul Martinez, whose hand never strayed far from his hidden weapon, Dr. Linda Freeman, who studied alien life, and Chief Science Officer Dr. Alan Bennett, who fidgeted with a small device in his hands. The main door opened with a hiss of air, showing the Zolaxian group. Commander Vexurian came in first, a tall, strange being that looked somewhat like an octopus with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His followers came behind him, and Wright could tell they were nervous by the way they moved, even though they looked so different from humans. "Welcome," Ambassador Carter said, stepping forward with a smile. "On behalf of Earth and humanity, we look forward to making friends with the Zolaxian Concord." Vexurian's translation device made some clicking sounds before he answered. "We are pleased to meet the people of Earth. I must say, your level of technology was not what we expected." Carter smiled. "We're a species full of surprises, Commander. Shall we go to the meeting room? We have much to talk about regarding our possible place in your galactic community." As they walked, Wright watched Vexurian closely. His three eyes kept darting to the window where the huge human battleships floated in space. The aliens' attitude had changed completely from the superior tone of their first message. In the meeting room, Carter began talk smoothly, but Wright focused on watching the aliens' body language. They had clearly expected to give orders to simple humans. Now they found themselves talking as equals, or maybe even with a civilization that was better prepared for war than they were. The balance of power had shifted before the real talks even began. "Your ships are impressive," Vexurian said, his three eyes blinking in a pattern that Dr. Freeman had said showed stress. "You must have been developing space technology for some time." "We believe in being prepared," Wright said, simply. Ambassador Carter nodded. "Humanity has always looked to the stars with wonder, Commander, and with caution." "Still," said one of the other Zolaxians, a female with lighter blue skin, "your level of advancement is unusual for a species that has not yet achieved faster-than-light travel." "Perhaps," Dr. Bennett suggested, "your models for civilizational development need updating." Wright hid a smile as the aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The humans weren't acting like the simple, grateful natives the Zolaxians had expected to find. They were acting like equals who knew their own worth. "Let's discuss what joining your Concord would mean for Earth," Carter said, steering the conversation back to diplomacy. "We're particularly interested in the rights and responsibilities of member worlds." The meeting went on for hours. With each passing minute, Wright could see the Zolaxians adjusting their approach, moving from what had clearly been a prepared speech for impressing primitives to a more careful, respectful negotiation. Humanity's ships had done their job before. A single word was spoken. The aliens had arrived ready to awe humans with their advanced technology. Instead, they found themselves trying not to stare at Earth's battle fleet and wondering what other surprises these humans might have waiting. 2 days after the first meeting, Jake Miller walked quietly into Admiral Wright's office on the diplomatic platform. Miller was the Chief of Intelligence for Earth's United Defense Forces, and he never brought good news. "Admiral, you need to see this," he said, placing a small screen on her desk. Wright looked at the information and her face hardened. "Are you sure about this?" "Yes, Admiral. Our deep space monitors found their real fleet, 23 ships waiting just beyond Pluto. The ship they sent for peaceful first contact is just their talking ship." Wright leaned back in her chair. "So they came ready for a fight." "It's what they always do, from what we can tell by listening to their messages. The Concord isn't as peaceful as they say when they want new planets to join them." She nodded slowly. "Tell Ambassador Carter right away, and get the Artemis Squadron ready to move." In the meeting room, the talks had reached an important point. Commander Vexurian was explaining all the good things about joining the Concord when Ambassador Carter got Miller's message through his hidden earpiece. "That sounds very helpful," Carter said smoothly, not missing a beat. "But before we go further, maybe we should talk about your backup fleet currently hiding beyond our outer solar system." The translator couldn't hide Vexurian's shock. The alien's skin turned a deeper blue. "I assure you, Ambassador, those ships are just normal safety measures. They are no threat to you." Carter smiled politely. "Of course. Just like our own safety. Measures are normal for us. Speaking of which," right on cue, Admiral Wright walked into the room. "Commander Vexurian, we've sent some of our ships to welcome your other vessels. We wouldn't want them to feel left out." Across the solar system, 12 more human battleships, previously hidden in different spots, fired up their engines and started moving toward the hidden Zolaxian fleet. These ships, part of the secret Artemis Squadron, were Earth's most advanced military technology. Back in the meeting room, Dr. Freeman, who studied alien life, noted how the Zolaxians' bodies showed signs of stress and worry as this news was told to Vexurian through his communication device. "Perhaps," Carter suggested gently, We should start our talks over with complete honesty. We understand the Concord's ways of bringing in new members often involve some pressure. But as you can see, humanity prefers a more equal partnership. Vexurian's translator was quiet for several moments before working again. It seems, we have underestimated your species, Ambassador. The Concord is used to certain ways of welcoming new civilizations. Ways that usually end with the new species serving as junior partners, Dr. Bennett added, looking up from his own data screen. With limited freedom and heavy resource demands. The alien commander's 3 eyes blinked very fast, what Dr. Freeman had identified as a sign of surprise or distress. You seem to know much about how we work, Vexurian admitted. Carter nodded. We believe in being well prepared, Commander. Now shall we discuss terms that recognize humanity as a full and equal partner in any possible alliance? As the meeting continued, Admiral Wright stepped out to get an update from the Artemis Squadron. The Zolaxian backup fleet, after learning they had been found out, had begun moving. They're keeping their distance, Admiral, reported Captain Nicole Grant, who commanded the UES Arizona. No aggressive moves, but they've formed a defensive position. Keep watching them, Captain. Let them know we see them, but don't push them. When Wright returned to the meeting room, the feeling had changed. The Zolaxian group was huddled together, talking in their own language with translators turned off. When they finally turned back to the humans, Vexurian's posture had changed, slightly. Ambassador Carter, we would like to take a break to talk with our leaders about a new framework for relations between Earth and the Concord. Carter nodded graciously. Of course, Commander. We understand the need for consultation. We look forward to continuing our talks when you've had enough time to communicate with your superiors. As the Zolaxians left, Wright moved beside Carter. They're rethinking their approach. Yes, the ambassador agreed. They came to collect a new servant world and instead found a potential rival. Wright's eyes narrowed. The question is whether they'll accept us as equals or decide we're too dangerous to leave free. Carter glanced at her. That's why we maintain our strength, Admiral. Peace through readiness. Dr. Freeman joined them, looking thoughtful. Their body language shows they're truly shocked. In their experience, Level 3 civilizations don't usually have the military power we've shown. Good, Wright replied. Let's keep surprising them. Later that day, Wright called an emergency meeting with Earth's Defense Council. On a secure screen, leaders from around the world gathered to hear the latest news. The Zolaxians are reassessing their strategy, Wright told them. But we should prepare for all possibilities. Do you think they might attack? Asked General Olivia Chen from the Asian Alliance. It's a possibility, Wright admitted. Their hidden fleet suggests they came prepared for resistance, but our show, a force may have given them pause. What about their technology? Asked Director William Reyes of the Global Science Division. How does it compare to ours? Dr. Bennett joined the call. Their ships use an advanced form of fusion we haven't mastered yet. But our weapon systems are surprisingly comparable. The Tellarian data we've been working with for decades gave us a head start. The real question, said Carter, is how the wider Concord will react when they learn about us. The Zolaxians clearly expected an easy conquest. Finding an armed and ready Earth has shocked them. Wright nodded. Which is why we need to push for the best possible deal now, while they're off balance. The meeting continued late into the night. Plans were made, contingencies discussed. Earth's leaders, unified by the common threat from space, worked together with a singular purpose, ensuring humanity's place among the stars would be as equals, not servants. Meanwhile, in space beyond Pluto, the hidden Zolaxian fleet received new orders from their command ship. A sleek vessel detached from the main group and accelerated rapidly, jumping to faster-than-light speed once clear of the solar system. It carried urgent messages back to the Zolaxian homeworld. The humans had detected the fleet. The humans had weapons that could challenge Zolaxian technology. The humans knew about the Concord's true methods of peaceful integration. The humans knew too much, and they were too well prepared. Back on the diplomatic platform, as Earth's day cycle shifted to night, the lights dimmed in Admiral Wright's office. She stood by the viewing port looking out at the stars, thinking about the path that had led humanity to this moment. 70 years of preparation, she said softly to herself. 70 years of working in secret, building ships, developing weapons, studying the Talarian data. All for this moment. The Zolaxians had come expecting to find primitive humans who would stare in wonder at their advanced technology. Instead, they found battleships waiting for them, and now they had to decide whether to treat Earth as a partner or as a threat. The Zolaxian team came back 3 Earth days later with a completely different attitude. Commander Vexurian now had a new alien with him, High Emissary Zolthek, who had come from the Hidden Fleet. The emissary was taller than the others, with darker blue skin and 6 arms instead of 4. The humans could tell this was someone very important. The Concord recognizes Earth as an advanced independent associate, Vexurian said formally. His translator worked hard to find the right words, for a status that was clearly not used often. This position gives you access to Concord trade routes, technology sharing, and diplomatic recognition, without the standard joining steps. Ambassador Carter kept his face perfectly neutral, though inside he was very pleased. This was exactly what Earth's leaders had hoped for. That sounds promising, Commander. We would need to discuss several details, of course. The talks went forward with a new respect from the Zolaxian side. As the hours passed, one thing became very clear: the Concord had met very few species that had built strong military forces before they figured out faster-than-light travel. The Zolaxians' usual plan, showing up with overwhelming technology to impress and scare new planets, had never before been met with such a strong show of force from a civilization that couldn't yet travel between stars. Your species is unusual, High Emissary Zolthek said during a break in the talks. Most worlds at your development stage are focused on internal conflicts. They have not united or built space defenses of this scale. Admiral Wright smiled slightly. Humanity has always been good at preparing for the unknown. Indeed, the emissary replied, all 3 eyes focusing on her. It makes one wonder what else you might be preparing for. The negotiations went on for 4 more days. The Zolaxians offered technology exchanges, especially in energy and propulsion systems. The humans promised access to Earth's cultural archives and limited trading rights for certain resources. Both sides agreed to respect each other's borders and sovereign rights. But the real victory was in what the agreement didn't include. Earth would not have to give up military control, follow Concord laws, or pay heavy resource taxes like other new members usually did. 1 week after the negotiations began, Admiral Wright stood on the observation deck of the UES Nevada, watching as the Zolaxian ships prepared to leave. Beside her, Ambassador Carter read through the final agreement on his tablet. Advanced Independent Associate Status, Carter said thoughtfully. According to their records, only 3 other species out of 42 member races have this position. Wright nodded. And they've agreed to share technology for propulsion and energy systems. In exchange for access to certain Earth cultural archives and limited resource trading rights, Carter added. Better terms than we expected. Captain Nelson joined, them holding a data tablet. Final report from Intelligence, Admiral. The Zolaxian backup fleet has moved beyond Neptune's orbit and looks ready to leave. Any signs of hidden messages or suspicious activity? Wright asked. None, Admiral. Dr. Freeman's analysis suggests their behavior shows genuine respect, maybe even some fear. Carter smiled slightly. They came expecting to find primitive humans staring in wonder at their advanced technology. Instead, they found battleships waiting for them. A lesson in not judging a species by its apparent development stage, Wright agreed. Humanity may not have faster-than-light travel yet, but we've been getting ready for this meeting for generations. On the main screen, the Zolaxian diplomatic ship fired up its engines. The strange energy flared briefly before the vessel sped away from Earth. The rest of their fleet followed in perfect formation. They'll be back, Wright said quietly. And they'll tell others about us in their Concord. Good, Carter replied. By then, we'll have added some of their technology to our defense systems. The Artemis program's Phase 2 ships will be ready within 18 months. Wright turned away from the window. Our ancestors looked up at the stars and knew we weren't alone. They had the wisdom to prepare us for this moment, not just with weapons but with the strength to make sure we enter the galactic community on our own terms. 3 months later, work was well underway at the hidden shipyards beneath the lunar surface. Earth scientists and engineers worked day and night, studying the technology the Zolaxians had shared and incorporating it into new human designs. In a secure underground facility in Colorado, Admiral Wright met with the World Council's Defense Committee. On large screens around the room, images of new ship designs rotated slowly. The UES Constitution will be our first ship with faster-than-light capabilities, Wright explained to the assembled leaders. With the propulsion technology the Zolaxians provided, we can build 5 such vessels within the next 2 years. And how soon might we expect another visit from the Conquered? Asked President Ramirez of the North American Union. Their next diplomatic mission is scheduled for 18 months from now, Wright answered. By then we'll have at least 2 FTL-capable ships operational. And what about the other alien civilizations? Asked Chancellor Kim of the Pacific Alliance. The Conquered mentioned 42 member races. Will they contact us as well? Ambassador Carter stepped forward. That's already happening. We've received transmissions from 3 other species in the past month. All are interested in establishing direct relations with Earth outside of Conquered protocols. Which means, Wright added, that our show of strength has already changed how the galaxy sees us. We're not being viewed as just another primitive world to be absorbed. We've established ourselves as a power to be respected. As the meeting continued, deep in space beyond the solar system, a Zolaxian message drone raced toward the Conquered central worlds. It carried updated information about Earth and recommendations from High Emissary Zolthek. The message was clear. Earth was not to be underestimated. The humans had somehow prepared for first contact, had built warships that could challenge Concord vessels, and seemed to know more about the galaxy than they should. Special attention was to be paid to this unusual world. The humans were either potential valuable allies or dangerous rivals that needed careful watching. Back on Earth, children in schools looked up at new star maps showing the locations of alien civilizations. Workers in factories built components for the next generation of defense vessels. Scientists studied the new technologies being gradually shared by the Conquered, and in orbit, Earth's battleships continued their silent patrol, a constant reminder to any watching eyes that humanity would not be easily impressed, intimidated, or controlled. The aliens had expected awe when they arrived at Earth. Instead, they saw our battleships. And now, the galaxy would never be the same. The end.